Hey, what's up, guys? It's Renaldo here. So, this video is going to focus on a narrative that has been created over the last few years. That if you speak out against the government of this country, or you point to things that are not right in this country, then you get an onslaught of people that say, why don't you leave? You are a traitor. You are causing havoc in this country and you should rather leave. And I find that very problematic purely because the individuals that are complaining about what's happening in this country are doing so from a perspective of the fact that they love this country. A lot of people in this country love South Africa, but they absolutely despise the government of this country. Now, I'm not sure if it is a government funded social media campaign where they are paying bot accounts to attack people, but something is fundamentally wrong, and it stems further than merely just social media. You can also see these trends in mainstream media where we have clearly seen who the mouthpieces of the ANC and the government is in this country. So we have reached a point where if you are a proud South African and you want to talk about what's wrong in this country, then you get attacked. Now, the question is, are people happy with the current state of South Africa? Truly? Are people happy living in a country with one of the highest crime rates in the world where 84 people are murdered every single day? Is that something to be happy about, to be proud about? Is the fact that we have one of the highest gender-based violence rates in the world, where a woman every few seconds falls victim to GBV, is that something to be proud of? Is that something to criticize other people for raising? And then, of course, the same with the unemployment rate in this country. One of the highest unemployment rates, the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. Are we supposed to be happy about that? Should we not address that and condemn the people responsible, not only who are committing the crimes, who are creating the environment for job losses? Should we not hold those individuals responsible? It seems that mainstream media and some people that are paid through the ANC are obsessed with calling out individuals like myself, like AfriForum, Solidariteit, Truth Report, content creators, and I'm sure there are thousands more that are being attacked almost daily for just speaking out against what's happening in this country. And then, of course, you get the framing around that. If it's a white individual that's complaining, then it's they miss apartheid and, they want to the good old days back. Or they can't handle being under a black government, which is ironic because most of these individuals have been under a government and that's the only thing that they know. And if they weren't happy, why didn't they leave sooner? Then, of course, you get black and colored individuals that if they speak out, then they are seen as traitors. They are called coconuts. They are called Uncle Toms. And the list goes on and on. So it's not necessarily a race issue, but of course, white people are predominantly attacked far more than I would say anybody else when they speak out against what's happening in this country. Noting, of course, that the vast majority of white people pay taxes in this country, meaning that they agree to a constitutional democracy. They agree to being governed by whomever the constitutional democracy eventually allows through a voting process. But yet, these individuals that are so negative towards these individuals that actually speak for a better South Africa and want a better South Africa are criticized. And we have to ask the question, who in this country supports what is going on in this country? I've touched on crime, unemployment. What about service delivery, or rather the lack thereof? What about the fact that there has been no actual real infrastructure injections happening in South Africa over the last 31 years, especially if you consider 33 trillion rand being allocated through taxpayers' money and budgets to the ANC government over the last 31 years. Where is the proof in the pudding? Where is the hospitals, the schools, the new colleges that has been built by the ANC? You won't find a lot of them. Not 33 trillion rands worth, that's for sure. In actual fact, not even 33 billion rands worth. So we sit in a situation where people that actually love this country and want to see this country thrive being criticized, attacked, belittled, insulted for wanting a better South Africa. Once again, the question is being asked, who are the people that are defending the current state of South Africa? Because how batshit crazy must you not be to live in a country with 84 murders a day, youth unemployment at over 60%, a violent sexual crime taking place every few seconds? Who would want to brag about living in a country like that? Who would be proud of living in a country like that? And yes, we come from a very troubled past where we had an atrocious system like apartheid that discriminated directly against people of color. And yet, when you look at the current state of South Africa, 31 years into our democracy, you know how bad it is when you look at a constitutional democracy and you look bad at a white nationalist run country, and you can see that on most metrics, when it comes to service delivery, when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to access to healthcare, that the apartheid system, as atrocious as it was, still shows better results than under this constitutional democracy. Once again, the question is, who is defending this? Who is agreeing that the ANC's governance over the last 31 years has given them the right to be so proud of this nation? We've gone through a lot, and we have managed to avoid killing each other purely because of the fact that it was apartheid that wanted to go to a constitutional democracy. But make no mistake, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have been murdered in this country. It's an inconvenient truth, but yet it did happen. And then we can also talk about the 145 race-based laws in this country in 2025. The ANC, specifically Nelson Mandela, stated that never, never, and never again shall it be that this great nation will experience oppression of one by another. That's exactly what's happening with 145 race-based laws. A complete exclusion when it comes to tender processes in South Africa, unless you abide by racist, broad-based black economic empowerment laws. So this video is not necessarily about white people complaining about what's happening in this country, but millions of the silent majority who are not happy with the current state of South Africa. But yet, when you criticize the government and where South Africa is, you are told to go back to Europe. You are told to leave this country or to take up Donald Trump's offer, which is something I think that went into overdrive when Donald Trump made the executive order in February 2025. Because for the first time, I would say, since we have become a democracy, a spotlight was shone onto South Africa to show the world that this rainbow nation that everybody believed was actually taking place, and everybody was singing happily kumbaya and walking into the sunset hand in hand together, that was a blatant lie. And I think a lot of people in this country, not necessarily only white people, were happy that for the first time since we became a democracy, a president of a country was confident enough to put the spotlight on South Africa and to say there are things happening there that I think the majority of people around the world doesn't know about. I mean, if you speak to people from overseas and you tell them that there are 84 murders a day in this country, they don't believe you. If you tell them that youth unemployment rate is over 60%, they don't believe you. If you tell them that in 2 provinces of this country there are more people unemployed than employed, they don't believe you. Now, the reason they don't believe you is because you are this solo voice in South Africa. And if you're a white individual, then a lot of people around the world have this perception that you are just unhappy that you don't have white people in government anymore, or that you aren't in charge of this country anymore, which of course for most South Africans is absolute bullshit. Most South Africans in this country just want a competent government. They don't care who or what they are, as long as they're competent, whether that's a male, a female, black, white, colored, Indian, Asian, it doesn't matter. But yet the narrative, especially that's being driven by mainstream media, is if you want the United States to keep the spotlight on South Africa until things improve, then you are a traitor. Look at what happened to AfriForum. Look at what happened to Solidariteit. The government, and especially mainstream media, went on this hunt against these individuals for just talking the truth, speaking the truth as to what is happening in South Africa. No lies were told. In actual fact, these individuals said, if you don't think that what we're doing is telling the truth, then fact check us. Something that the government and mainstream media has not done, because they know that if people have to fact check them, they'll find out who is actually lying in this country. But it still boils down to this very simple fact that the people that are most critical of what is happening in South Africa are actually the ones that love this country the most, because they aren't lying to the people in this country. They aren't telling the people, hey, everything's fine, don't worry about it. The ANC just don't know how to run a country, but everything else will be fine. No. And most of the voices that are speaking out against this are individuals that can easily leave this country if they wanted to. It's individuals that can also just mind their own business and live their comfortable middle class or upper middle class or even the wealthy classes lifestyles. An example of this is Rob Hersoft. Do you really think that he, out of everything that he can be doing, holidaying in the south of France, traveling the world, doing what billionaires do, do you think that he decided to remain in South Africa and talk about what's happening in this country because he is a racist or because he doesn't like black people in this country? Because if you truly believe that, then you are very ignorant, and perhaps you are in actual fact a racist. And it goes for many other people. Kali Kriel, Ernst van Zyl, Ernst Roots, Chris Wyatt, that is actually not even in South Africa. There's no actual benefit for somebody like Chris Wyatt to talk about what's going on in this country. The only thing that he benefits from is he could get more people to watch his content. But overwhelmingly, the time that he spends talking about it, there's no real benefit. So if you go on that scale of, if you use that time to consult, then of course he would be making more money than if he was just talking about South Africa on social media. But once again, it's this narrative that's been created by mainstream media. These are the enemies of South Africa. Very famously, let me find it here, Adrian Basson did this, in which he said, the collaborators who betrayed their country for Trump. And this is the type of articles that you see day in and day out. History will call out the names of those who could but chose not to call out Trump's barefaced lies about the persecution of Afrikaners, one of the wealthiest tribes in Africa, to advance his white supremacist ideology. And there are many of these. This is our South Africa. Trump's disrespectful land reform comment slammed. AfriForum's right-wing messiah. Trump's desperate bid to sow division derailed South Africa's democracy. Why South Africa's land reform represents justice, not Trump's politics. And the list goes on and on. There are hundreds of those type of articles on the internet and on mainstream media outlets' websites. But it boils down to the question, once again, that I've asked a couple of times throughout this video. And that, of course, is, who is happy with the current state of South Africa? It can't be the poorest of the poor, which is overwhelmingly black individuals. Surely they aren't happy with the current state of South Africa. It definitely isn't white people, because they are facing 145 race-based laws in this country. And then colored people during apartheid weren't white enough, and now during the constitutional democracy, they aren't black enough. And then, of course, Indian people that have always had the same footing as, I would say, colored individuals in this country. So it's not just a race thing. A lot of South Africans aren't happy with the state of this country. So once again, the question is, who is happy? Is it the people that benefit from the ANC's corruption? Is it the individuals that are cadres, that are loyal to the GNU and to the ANC, that benefit financially, and their friends and their family? And if we have to equate a number to that, how many people is that versus the tens of millions of people that have been failed by the ANC government in this country over the last 31 years? And once again, the question that I also always ask is, where does the legacy of apartheid end, and where does the failure by the ANC government begin? And that is something that mainstream media won't tell you. So this narrative that has been created, I don't know by who, but definitely, in my opinion, funded by the ANC, is driving this narrative that if you speak negatively about this country, then you don't truly love this country. And I would like to unequivocally state to everybody that says that, fuck you. And the reason I say that is because from my own experience, I love this country. I love the different cultures of this country. I love what this country can be if it was governed by a competent government. I don't care if it's a black individual, a white individual, a colored individual, an Asian or Indian running this country. Just like with the Springboks. I don't care if 15 players all had to be black. If they were the best, they deserve to be there. If it was 15 white individuals, 15 colored individuals, etc., etc. But for some reason, because I'm critical of the government, because I call out the statistics of what's wrong in this country, I get labeled as a traitor to this country. I get labeled as a racist, and so do many of you. I mean, I'm not losing sleep over it. I just find it comical that the overwhelming majority of people in this country could be uplifted by a better government, but yet there are still some people that praise what is happening in this country, specifically with this G20 that has just been completed now. And so many people saying, ha ha ha, well done, look at what Donald Trump is now doing. Oh, they are such a bunch of idiots. Oh yes, we love this country, we love Cyril Ramaphosa. Really, what has Cyril Ramaphosa done for you? What did Jacob Zuma do for you? What did Thabo Mbeki do for you? I would argue that Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki are probably the only two presidents that contributed something to some extent. But then again, we've got Thabo Mbeki with the HIV rejection, that cost hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions of lives. So the point once again is, who are these individuals that are so vocal? Who is funding them and why? Well, we know why. Because the ANC does not want to be held accountable for their absolute failures. And the apartheid excuse is running out. And also the colonialist excuse is now starting, because apartheid unfortunately was too short a period. So now they need to go back hundreds of years to talk about, the failures under whomever was in charge and how black people suffered. Well, that argument falls flat because colonialism, specifically British colonialism, also affected Afrikaners. The first and second Anglo-Boer War, where white people, or at least Afrikaners, were nearly wiped off the face of the earth. Their wives and children were put into concentration camps. Their farms were burned down. So that argument doesn't fly because out of that, you also had Afrikaners that had nothing and had to rebuild everything. And yet in 2025, we have 145 race-based laws that discriminate against people that had no hand in apartheid. And mainstream media says that's perfectly fine. And the government says that's perfectly fine. And our courts say that's perfectly fine. But then again, our courts also ruled recently that somebody singing "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer" isn't hate speech. It's a perfectly fine song that people can sing in this country with a murder rate of 84 murders a day. Makes a lot of sense, right? But then again, that same constitutional court is also a court that banned a piece of cloth in the old South African flag. Now, I'm not a fan of the old South African flag. I just believe that if you want to have the old South African flag in your home because it's got some sentimental value, because your father was a member of parliament, or for whatever reason, the government shouldn't tell you what you can and cannot do with a piece of cloth that is not physically harming anybody. But yet, that is banned, but a song like Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer is completely acceptable, even though it is a direct call for violence. So once again, I'm asking you, who in South Africa actually supports the ANC? And then the question is, why? Do they support the ANC and the GNU government because they are delivering services, because they are doing what is best for South Africa? I don't think so. I firmly believe that these people are benefiting through the corruption. They are benefiting by the ANC government paying them to talk bullshit online and to attack people that are critical of the ANC, because those individuals actually love this country. So just watch out for that narrative, I suppose, is the point of this video. And speak out when people are critical of you and what you have to say, whether it is about the ANC, EFF, Mkonto Wesizwe. Don't allow people to silence you. Speak up. It is truly time for the silent majority of this country to speak out and talk about what is really happening in this country. To your friends, to your family, to your friends overseas, to the international community. It's time to tell them that South Africa is not what the rest of the world think it is. And once again, Donald Trump was the first president from another country to actually put the spotlight onto South Africa and say, this is what's happening. And that is why so many people within the ANC are fighting tooth and nail to label the individuals that are assisting Donald Trump and exposing what's going on here as racists, as traitors, the treason allegations, all of these things. It's all because of mainstream media and the government working hand in hand to silence these people. And don't be one of those people that are silenced when somebody calls you a racist. In this day and age, being called a racist is like somebody telling you the sky is blue. It's like, oh, okay, thanks. Moving straight along. It is almost used as a filler word when somebody doesn't have an argument. That is what that accusation has gone to. So the point that I'm leading to is, don't be silenced by people, specifically bots online. Because when somebody calls you a racist, or they insult you, or they tell you to go back to Europe, or that you are a coconut, just look at how many followers they have, and then you'll clearly see the pattern of bot accounts. So to conclude this video, if you truly love this country, and you truly want what is best for all South Africans that live in this country, start speaking out. And don't allow these individuals, whether it's mainstream media, the government, or these bots, to silence you. Because it's only when the silent majority says enough is enough that change will start happening in South Africa. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video far and wide. And if you enjoy my content and you enjoy this channel, please consider becoming a member. You can do so by clicking the join button below. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Till later, cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I went my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I went my massacre. My massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I went my massacre. My massacre.